Good Thursday morning, Woodruff Road Christian Church friends, YouTube friends, fake plan enthusiast Chris here with another chat from our church's foyer, looking ahead at what is to come after we break out of this mess that is isolation, social distancing, closed buildings, all of that. I have a question. Do we realize what is being established right now in this time where we've had to social distance and connect digitally? And do we realize the impact that this is having on the reality of the church? Now, this is not a doom and gloom video. This is actually, this is exciting to me. And it's something that's going to, follow the path of thought that we've had this week in our series of videos. Do we realize what's changing? Now, we know we don't want to go back to what was normal. That's what we talked about on Monday. We do not want to just go back into a routine. That's not the way this should work, and it's not going to work. We can't allow it to work that way. So what we have discovered in this time where we are separate, where we are not together, where we are not based around this weekly ritual and habitual scheduling, we have realized that the church is bigger than the building. The church is not the building. The building itself is just a waypoint for us on our journey every week to be the church, to be the body of Christ. As Bob Dylan said best, the times they are a-changing. You realize that because we have figured out that we can be the church wherever we are, we don't have to go back to that platitude religion where we just feel like we meet the needs on a weekly basis and we check off those boxes that we did this, and this, and are satisfied. We have stepped through the gates that have opened up to the body of Christ existing wherever the body of Christ is. And we have found out that we can do church, we can be church, even if we don't have regular access to a building. So, I want to continue to shepherd that thought and continue to walk that line of thinking this week. And what came to mind very quickly, this is not going to be a long video, is Romans chapter 12. Paul has this in mind for us, and I think this will be extremely relevant to this new line of thinking and this new idea of change and this rebirth definition of church. Let's read Romans 12. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Truly the way to worship God. And it has nothing to do with a building. It has nothing to do with a bulletin. It has nothing to do with the predetermined set of rules or routine. It has to do with us offering ourselves to God fully. Verse 2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Yes, we are changing. Everything is changing. How we think is changing. How we thought about church is changing. How we thought about how we do all this is changing. And we need to use this opportunity of change, not just to look back and say, oh, I wish things were the way they were, but to look at God's perfect will. And how do we find that and discover that and become that as the body of Christ? Verse 3, because of the privilege and authority God has given me, Paul, I give each of you this morning, don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. Now, I want to hit hard with this verse. And this is a big question. And I want you actually to sit down for this and chew on this and not just throw something at your computer because you're mad at me because I asked this question. Is our community missing our presence in it at all? Is our community lacking anything because we're not meeting on Sunday morning? Does our presence as the church, the body of Christ in our community, mean anything other than a bit of a crowded parking lot, some traffic shifts on Woodruff Road for a few hours once a week? I think we've gotten a little guilty of thinking a little bit better of ourselves than we really are. What does our community need? Does it need a weekly gathering? Because I'm not sure a weekly gathering of the church is what's making an impact in Greenville. It's the body of Christ offering themselves as living, total sacrifices. Seeking, above all, God's will. God's good and perfect will. Not our own. Not our own comfort levels. Not our own description and prescription of what faith and belief in Christianity is. And finally, that we understand our role on earth. It is not just to take up space. And I think we're realizing that now because our space is no longer centralized. It is now universal. We are everywhere. And the body of Christ is still alive. The body of Christ is still active. And the body of Christ is still serving and loving. The times, they are a-changing. So think about these ideas. Think about this question that I have given you that may hurt, that may cause you some stress, that may cause you to think, Chris, you said this video was going to be a short one, and here it is, just as long as all the other ones. I got excited. Church, what do we need to do to continue to be the church? Well, finish reading Romans chapter 12, and that'd be a good place to start.